Hello, welcome to World Lit 1. So for this little introductory bit, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the syllabus and the Georgia View interface so that you know what you're doing for the remainder of the course. Most of the lectures are pre-recorded. Since we don't actually directly meet face-to-face, I've recorded lectures from my World Lit 1 classes over the last couple of semesters, and those are posted here in Georgia View for you to watch. So let's just take a minute and I'll show you what is, what the hell, I'll show you what's up here. Okay. So most of the work you're going to be doing is here in the course browser, right? So there are all of these tabs, each of which includes a couple of files. So if you click, for example, on Syllabus and Assignments, you'll see here, right, the syllabus and instructions for 2 of the assignments thus far. We'll talk a little bit more about assignments in detail a little bit later. Now, if you look at the tabs for individual texts that we're going to be looking at, so let's say click on the Epic of Gilgamesh. Right, so we see here we have 2 recorded lectures. These will give you links to YouTube where the lecture is uploaded. You can watch it there. There's a bibliography for each text, so I'm sharing with you all of these sources that I've used in order to come up with the lectures. Now, what this means when we get to the research paper at the end of the term, right? I don't want anybody telling me that they can't find any sources, right? I have given you, for each text, at least a couple of secondary sources that you can look up. The remainder of what you'll find here in each tab in the course browser are extra resources, usually various kinds of, entirely various kinds of web resources that you can use to get a little bit of extra information about the text or about the culture that produced it. So we have here, we have maps of Mesopotamia, we have some information on ancient Mesopotamia. Knock it off. We also have a link to a documentary on ancient Mesopotamian culture and arts. So you'll find things like this for each text that we're studying. These are not to be used as secondary sources on your papers, but they can be sort of useful background information for you as you are studying each of these texts. Right, so that's what's on Georgia View. Let's talk a little bit about what's going to be expected of you in the course overall. Okay, so first, a little bit of basic information. So my name is Michael Moyer. I'm an assistant professor of English here at Georgia Southwestern State. The best way to get in touch with me is via my regular campus email address, michael.moyer@gsw.edu, right? It's on the syllabus, first page. If you email me through Georgia View, I probably won't respond. I don't like the Georgia View email system. It's a little bit wonky, a little bit difficult to use. So just contact me directly at my regular campus email. I usually respond within 24 hours. I will be having online office hours Monday and Thursday from 5 to 7 p.m. So you would just log into Georgia View chat and I'll be available that way. The required text is the Norton Anthology of World Literature, 3rd edition, package 1. Right, so it's a 3-volume package. You will need all 3 volumes. It's cheapest to buy them as a single volume. I don't really care how you get them. I know you can purchase them through our campus bookstore. Just make sure that you get them. Now, as far as your grades are concerned, right, these are the elements of the grade. Midterm exam will be worth 15% of your grade. It'll be an at-home written essay exam. Midterm paper is worth 20 points, final paper 25 points, final exam 20 points, participation 10 points, and you'll be doing weekly reflection papers that are also worth 10 points. You may be asking, Dr. Moyer, how can I possibly participate in a class that's online and asynchronous and doesn't actually meet in a classroom? We'll get to that in a moment. But this is the breakdown here, right? Now, one thing to note about the two exams, right? Since you'll be given a set of questions you'll have to answer in essay form, and because these are going to be take-home and open book, I will be expecting you on the exams to actually quote from the primary source text, right? So you'll actually have to quote from the whatever text it is you're talking about. Now, as far as the papers are concerned, the first is going to be a close reading of a single text. I will post specific directions for it closer to the due date, but just know for now it's going to be 1,000 to 1,500 words long, double-spaced, and no outside sources are permitted for the first paper. Right? That has to come all from your own heads. The second paper will be a researched argument, 2,000 to 3,000 words long, and you will need to consult at least 5 scholarly sources. Now, while the first paper is going to deal with a single text, the second paper will be a comparative essay, right? So you'll be comparing the treatment of a single theme in 2 different texts, one from before midterm and one from after midterm. Now, as far as the other 2 things you're expected to do are concerned, participation in this class is going to take place over the discussion boards. So I've posted specific directions for participation in Georgia View in the Syllabus and Assignments folder. And so here they are. Right? What you're going to be doing is posting on the discussion forums twice a week. And a week, for the purpose of this class, since we start on a Wednesday, is going to be Wednesday to Wednesday, right? So the week starts May 31st and ends June 6th, so on and so forth. One of the posts must be an original comment, right? Something you came up with on your own that is not a response to someone else. And the other must be a response to another student's comment. Your post should be roughly 250 words long or a little bit more. And they should be substantive, right? They should deal with some interesting issue in the text. And, you'll get a C basically just for doing the posts, right? And for following the directions, making them long enough. If you want to get an A or a B on the posts, then what you need to do is make sure that your posts are original and engaging, right? I'm not looking for summary here. I'm not looking for you to just prove you did the reading. I am looking for you to engage with ideas in the text in some way, right? So here's how we're going to do that. It helps if you raise some kind of interesting question about the text, and I've got some examples here. For example, why do women behave this particular way in Gilgamesh? Who's the you Augustine is talking to in the Confessions? How is Sunjata different from his enemy Sumaworo? Right, and try to propose an answer to that question. Right, what is going on here, and why does it matter? It will also help if you focus on small, specific details in the text that you think either raise new questions or help you answer other questions. And always make sure that you back up everything you say with evidence from the text. Right, make sure that the text supports the point you're trying to make. I already covered this a little bit, but it bears repeating, right? I want you to analyze in these posts. I don't want you to summarize. I am not looking for you to tell me what happens in the text. I want you to try to think your way through some important symbol, theme, or idea in the text, right? So look for patterns. And by patterns, I mean meaningful patterns, like a particular kind of image that recurs, or even perhaps some kind of interesting linguistic formula that repeats throughout the text, right? Events that seem to mirror each other or double each other. And think about what this particular pattern might mean. Now, when you're responding to someone else's comments, either try to build on the idea that your classmate initially proposed, or provide an alternative reading of the idea that your classmate came up with, right? So, yeah, that's interesting, but I think you could read it this way as well. If you take the disagreement path or the alternative reading path, remember to be polite, right? The internet is relatively anonymous. It's easy to imagine that the other people on the net are basically just abstractions, right? They're not. They're real people with real ideas and real feelings, and it wouldn't hurt you to be nice to them, right? So just make sure that when you respond to another student's post, you are always polite, right? Don't resort to insults or name calling, right? There's no reason to do that in a literature class. The stakes here aren't that high. Now, the other thing I'm going to expect you to do is submit weekly response papers. There are folders for all of these assignments already in Georgia View in the assignment Dropbox. And you'll submit all of the response papers to the same folder. So each week you're going to be required to submit one 500-page response paper by Friday. This is the only way in the Wednesday to Wednesday thing in the course doesn't work, right? So you're going to do 8 total response papers. Each time you're going to select a single short quotation from one of the texts that you're reading for the week, right? Just one. And provide a short analysis of some major theme, symbol, or idea in the text that you think your chosen quote is a good example of. Now, by and large, the same things that are going to make for a good discussion board post are going to make for a good response paper post, or for a good response paper. But a couple of things I want you to think about here specifically when doing the response papers. First, while you should pay attention to particular details and what they mean in the quote you've chosen, make sure that you are also bringing it back to some bigger issue that you see in the whole text, right? So look for some kind of meaningful pattern in the entire text, indeed in the entire course, right? If you see that the text that you're writing about actually has some interesting things in common with another text that we've read, right, point that out. Right, which particular course theme do both of these texts deal with, and so what? Right? How are they similar? How do they differ in their treatment of this? This will help. Doing this will help you with the final paper. Also, make sure that you are choosing short quotations. No longer than a single sentence, no longer than a brief paragraph. And if you want to compare your quote to other quotes in the text in order to demonstrate a pattern, that's perfectly all right. That's okay. In fact, I encourage that. But you're going to be working primarily from a single quote. Now, if you have any questions about any of this, please do shoot me an email. And I'll be happy to discuss it with you. Now, back to our syllabus, right? Attendance policy doesn't matter because this is not, this is an online class. Okay, a couple of things that do matter here. First, the Writing Center. The Writing Center is open this summer, and they do have online hours if you are not physically able to come to campus. I do give extra credit on paper assignments for going to the Writing Center and working with a tutor, right? So you will make an appointment, you'll either go to the center or meet with a tutor online, and they will send me an email that said, you know, so-and-so went to the Writing Center, and here's what we talked about. So going to the Writing Center for either of the two papers will earn you half a letter grades improvement, right? So if you would have had a B+ on the paper, it'll become an A-, so on and so forth. So it's worth your time to go. Now, I should also let everyone know as well that you are expected to do your own work, and Turnitin.com is enabled in the Dropbox folders for every assignment. Not only that, I will be checking myself every assignment to make sure that you have done this work yourself and not either paid someone else to do it or cut and paste from a website. Now, here's one thing I will tell you about buying papers. Usually if you are buying a paper, all the person you're buying it from is going to do is go to SparkNotes or Schmoop.com or 123help.me or something like that and copy and paste and maybe reword a couple of things. So if you are thinking about buying a paper, you are probably going to get ripped off. Just throwing that out there. Now, if you are caught submitting work that is not your own, first penalty is a 0 on the assignment. Second offense, you will automatically fail the class. All right, so there is going to be, as we can see here, a lot of reading for this course. You're going to be reading a lot of material. You're going to be watching a lot of lectures. This is in part because we have to cram the contents of a 16-week course into about 8 weeks. Right, so do your best to keep up with the reading. If you're having trouble, if you're having difficulty understanding anything, please do feel free to contact me. If you have any questions about the syllabus, shoot me an email. Right? I'm happy to talk with you. Other than that, this is basically how the course is going to work. So please move on to the first lectures for cosmogonic myths. There'll be the cannibal spell for King Eunice, the hymn to the Aten, the Enuma Elish, and Hesiod's Theogony. Right? They're all fairly short pieces. They're all in the same section together in the textbook. And you should be able to make sense of them. But again, yeah, watch the lecture. If you have any questions, please do get in touch with me. All right, so I guess we'll see you on the discussion boards. Take care.